Hocus Pocus is a family Halloween film from 1993 about 3 witches from 17th century Salem who hung for their sins but eventually resurrected in modern times. This movie did not do well at the box office, but over the years it has slowly grown to have a strong following. Now, many families feel it's not Halloween until they've watched Hocus Pocus. I would love to do a review of this film someday, but not on this day. Today, I'd like to simply list 3 pieces of trivia about this movie that I'll bet you didn't already know. There will not be any major spoilers. However, I will warn you right now that the final piece of trivia might be scary or disturbing for some. I'll warn you again when I'm about to reach it, but for now, let's get started. Fact number 1. The opening shot is supposed to be a witch's view looking down at 17th century Salem, but it's actually footage from a helicopter flying about 60 miles south of Salem at Plymouth Plantation's 17th century English village, which is a museum recreation of a small farming community built by pilgrims that anyone can visit. You can walk inside and around these houses, guided on tours by people dressed as if it's still the 17th century. Also note that there was another movie called Warlock from 1989, which also shot its opening scenes at Plymouth Plantation on the ground. And Warlock was also about a person who practiced witchcraft in the 1600s and got transported to modern times. More recently, in 2015, there was a movie called The Witch, which also had one quick shot done at Plymouth Plantation. Fact number 2. One of the actresses playing a witch here is Sarah Jessica Parker, who went on to star in the very popular TV series Sex and the City. But what's interesting is that in the year 2010, Parker decided to research her ancestry. And she was quite surprised to discover that a 10th great-grandmother of hers, named Esther Elwell, lived in Salem and was accused of witchcraft in a trial in 1692, and narrowly missed being burnt at the stake. Again, Parker was completely unaware of this while making Hocus Pocus. Fact number 3. Okay, this is the big one. This is the one that might be disturbing for some. So if you don't want to hear a scary story, I suggest you stop this video right now, because here the story is. In the summer of 2015, I visited Salem. I walked on the main shopping strip, which is called Essex Street, and saw all the tourist shops, museums, and witchcraft stores. But then I decided to walk a bit away from all the tourist attractions and down the residential streets. The designs of many of these old houses fascinated me. Eventually, I just so happened to come across the house used for the exterior of Max and Dani's in Hocus Pocus. Seeing it was a bit surreal. I asked a random man on the street if he would take a picture of me standing in front of the home, and he did. He was very friendly and said he lived on the block for many years and remembered when Hocus Pocus was being filmed. He then said to me, "I'll tell you an interesting piece of trivia about the movie that almost nobody knows, if you have a minute to listen." I said, "Sure, I'd love to hear this." The story he told me was that there was once a man who lived directly next door to the house used as Max and Dani's on the 3rd floor attic apartment. This man was known for being a bit mentally ill. When the movie Hocus Pocus was being shot, he used to love to watch the filming from a distance. That was simply something he enjoyed. Anyway, years after Hocus Pocus was done filming, one day this man suddenly seemed to disappear. Weeks went by and nobody knew where he was. Eventually, the police broke into his 3rd floor apartment to see what clues they could find. But as soon as they entered, all their questions were answered immediately. He was right there in front of them, dead. He hung himself, and the body was still hanging. It had been hanging for so long that his neck had stretched out an additional 3 inches. So the police took the body away, and the apartment was cleared for new tenants. Over the years, several different tenants have lived in this third-floor attic apartment. Most of them claim to have seen or heard the man's ghost. Some locals still believe his ghost is there today. A few locals even visit that third-floor apartment regularly, claiming they have conversations with him. Now you may be asking, what does the story really have to do with the movie Hocus Pocus? Well, you might recall that when I started this story, I mentioned that while Hocus Pocus was filming, he used to love to watch the filming from a distance. And it just so happens that there is one shot in the movie of which you know exactly where to look. Then in the background, you can see this man standing there. I didn't get it straight exactly which shot in the movie that was, but as the friendly longtime resident of the block told me, the man who many local residents believe to be the ghost of the block can be seen somewhere in the background of one shot in Hocus Pocus. Now how's that for trivia? So, do you have a response to the story you'd like to share? Or do you happen to know exactly where and when in the movie he can be seen? Please leave your comments below, and please hit subscribe. Thank you.